World champions of baseball.
Spring training on SNY is presented by Citi. Today, from first day to field, the Mets welcome in the New York Yankees for exhibition baseball. It turned out to be a surprise beach day today in Florida, but the main attraction. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. By Empire City Casino. Current jackpot is now over $2.8 million. You could be the biggest winner yet. By WB Mason, the official office products company of the New York Mets. Who but WB Mason? And by Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. So it turned out to be a pleasant afternoon today in Port St. Lucie. Welcome to SNY's coverage of Mets spring training baseball. I'm Eamon McEnany, happy to be joined by two guys who had to rediscover the weight room this week to carry me, Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez. And Keith, when you take a look at this Yankee team that's been assembled by Brian Cashman, it's not out of the realm to see them put up historic numbers.
Well, baseball has changed. It's become a power league now. The home run is so much of importance now. And the Yankees just kind of doubled down, obviously, with the pickup of last year's National League MVP, Giancarlo Stanton, to go with Aaron Judge. That's 111 home runs in those two guys. I got to think that this is probably the potential to be the greatest right-hand back-to-back power hitters in Yankee history.
And in Yankee history, the benchmark, of course, 115 home runs by teammates back in 1961 by Mantle and Maris. And Ron, as we turn our attention to the Mets, it's no secret this team will go as far as the pitching will carry it. And today, some surprising choices and interesting choices for Mickey Callaway.
You know, it's really interesting, both the Yankees and the Mets. Mets first. When you think about this team today, Zach Wheeler is getting the start, but you're also going to see Rafael Montero. You're going to see Robert Gsellman. So Callaway's group is going to really have three guys vying for that fifth starting group. And Keith said it, the offense for the Yankees is going to be great. But last year at this time, you really were discussing whether their starting staff was going to be good enough. Well, Luis Severino turned into an ace. CC Sabathia won 14 games. And they have Sonny Gray all year long. Some question marks, but not as many as last year.
No, certainly they did not pull the trigger and make an addition in the offseason. We'll see if they have to do it during the regular season. Zach Wheeler looking for a spot in the rotation. He makes the start when we return to first day to field after this. by East Coast Power and Gas, the official energy provider of the New York Mets. By Cash for Life from the New York Lottery. You could win $1,000 a day for life. By Verizon, the most awarded network is now the best streaming network. And by Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. Mets fans, spring training is here and on MLB.tv. Watch select spring training games live on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply for regular season games. Visit MLB.tv for details. Here are today's pitchers for the Mets, brought to you by Cadillac. As we mentioned, Zach Wheeler gets the start. It'll be his third spring training appearance. He's expected to be followed by Robert Gesellman and another righty, Rafael Montero. Matt Perk and Corey Taylor are also expected to get some work as well. It turned out to be a surprise beach day here in Port St. Lucie, but the main attraction, anytime the Yankees are in town, it's Mets spring training baseball. Biggest games in 2018 with a Mets ticket plan. Choose from a variety of 20, 41, and full season plans that include potential 2018 postseason access. For tickets, visit Mets.com/plans or call 718-507-TIXX. Beautiful day it turned out to be here at Port St. Lucie, with a great crowd on hand to see Zach Wheeler take on the Yankees. And let's take a look at the Toyota Yankees starting lineup. The veteran Brett Gardner leads off. The newly acquired Brandon Drury plays third and hits second. And Miguel Andujar ripping the cover off the ball so far in spring training. No Stanton, no Judge, no Sanchez, but Estevan Florial in center field has opened up some eyes as well.
Well, almost a lost season for Zach Wheeler last year. He lost 2 years, came back last year, only pitched 86 innings, went on the disabled list twice with biceps tendonitis and a stress reaction on his right arm, and then they just effectively shut him down in late August. This really is his redemption year. This is his year to prove if he belongs here in the major leagues.
Yeah,
again, your Mets Lexus defense, and looks like a lot of starting lineup out there today. Of course, Ahmed Rosario with Jose starting at shortstop. Jose Reyes, of course, is having issues with his knee. It's kind of gone up to his hamstring. Let's hope it stops there and he gets back in the lineup soon. Todd Frazier, the newcomer, at third base. Also Adrian Gonzalez at first. 2 veterans at the corners. Darno behind the plate.
I talked to Asdrubal Cabrera. He's sending you a pair of these shoes, Keith. I know you're fond of them.
Oh, I tell you what. If you're out at 4 in the morning, they may come in handy.
Wheeler started a game back on February 23rd against the Braves, pitched 1 inning, struck out 2. We can take a look at Aaron Boone, and not a bad life. Hey, you're going to be a manager of the big league club in your first year. You get Stanton, Judge, Sanchez, and a team that was 1 game away from the World Series.
I mean, you're a New Yorker. Were you shocked that a manager who came within 1 game of going to the World Series, who averaged 91 wins a year with the Yankees, was let go?
I was. I think most of New York was, but then, you know, you got the idea that the clubhouse needed a breath of fresh air. That's so it seemed. But you're absolutely right, Joe. You're already very successful. A little surprised that contract was not renewed. But now Brett Gardner steps in to face Zach Wheeler.
There's a lot underlying Girardi's firing, I believe. I think it's just been the new guard has come in now, and analytics has come to the forefront. And there's not hardly any old school managers anymore.
That tough love in the clubhouse just does not work anymore.
But I thought it was interesting. You heard that, you know, the idea was that the young players didn't have a relationship with them. But what young player hasn't flourished or hasn't done well? I mean, you want Judge to hit 60? I mean, even Severino had a good year.
That's right.
Gardner swings away at that one. Reyes going back on it, and it'll drop for a base hit in left center.
Well, he's one of my favorite players, Brett Gardner. He's a guy that is underrated. People don't talk about him. He gets the job done.
Very hard-nosed player, old-school type player. He hustles. He is the spark plug of this power-laden Yankee team. He provides them with that speed at the top.
You know, he signed that 4-year contract. We talk about a lot of people who don't live up to the contract. Gardner's not one of them.
That brings up Brandon Drury, who the Yankees acquired from Arizona on February 20th. Going to solidify that infield.
Well, he can play a lot of positions, this kid. He's got some pop. I mean, you know, you can say all you want about he played in a smaller ballpark in Arizona while he's going to Yankee Stadium, and that's a bit of a bandbox itself.
13 home runs last season. 31 in his career. Looking to turn some of those doubles that he had last year in Arizona into home runs.
The only issue is that Drury was the starting second baseman for the Diamondbacks last year. Then he kind of fell out of favor. The offensive numbers were there, but the defensive numbers weren't there for Torey Lovullo, who ended up being the manager of the year in the National League. And he was replaced by Daniel Descalso, who ended up playing most of the second base in the postseason.
Here comes the 0-1 from Wheeler. That's outside.
Well, one thing you're always going to see from Wheeler is a good fastball. It's just command is his problem. And he's got that lengthy arm action, does he not, Ron?
Yes, he does.
Dave Island and Mickey Callaway obviously keeping a close eye on the righty. Gardner doesn't go, and Drury takes that one for strike 2.
So what Keith's referring to with the longer arm action is that every pitcher is trying to get his release point from the same spot every time. The longer your arm action, the more difficult it is to hit that slot every single time. That's been Wheeler's kind of bugaboo.
Here comes the 1-2. Fouled back. The other bugaboo, of course, has been being able to stay healthy, and he took shots every day for 6 months during the offseason. Ronnie, what was your reaction when you heard that story?
Yeah, you know, that's pretty alarming. Usually in the offseason is when you stay away from the doctor and you just try to recuperate. But like I said, and when I was talking about him in the open, you know, effectively shut down on the DL for a couple of times. You know, some pitchers just are going to have to pitch through pain. Wheeler might be one of those.
Checks Gardner at first.
Interesting. In yesterday's game, the Mets had 3 pickoffs from their pitchers. So something that was a problem for the Mets, if you don't recall, particularly Noah Syndergaard last year. Obviously, the Mets have addressed the issue, paying more attention to the base runners.
That's right down the pike for strike 3. Drury goes down looking.
Sitting on breaking ball, Keith.
Fastball in with 2 strikes. Where are you most vulnerable? Inside. Little paint your wagon. Nice.
That brings up Miguel Andujar, who has certainly opened eyes, and in the town we live in sparked some controversy. You take a look at his numbers, both with the Trenton Thunder last year and what he's done in spring training. 4 home runs already, 8 runs batted in. He goes up there swinging at strike 1 against Wheeler.
You know, the Yankees came into spring training and they did not want to have 2 young players at second base and third base. Their 2 best prospects were Gleyber Torres, who they got from the Cubs, and this young man, Andujar. And Andujar is trying to play his way onto this ball club. Gleyber Torres, I think, needs a little more seasoning.
Well, if you're trying to make an impression on your manager in the front office, he's getting a chance to do it. He's been displaying the power. Only last year, AA, AAA, he only hit 16 home runs, but he also hit a combined 315. Had a real fine year.
Fouls that one off to the right.
He reminds me a little bit of Marcell Ozuna when he's in there swinging. He is just gripping it and ripping it.
Wheeler looking for his second strikeout here in the first.
A couple of things I would like them to work on with Wheeler. That would be his tempo. Part of the inability to throw strikes is you've got an uneven tempo. He tends to work a little on the slow side, which makes it even more difficult to throw the ball over the plate, in my estimation.
That is hit into the gap, and Lagares going back, shading the sun. Wind played an issue there, but he makes the grab.
If that ball was hit yesterday, it would have been out of the ballpark. The wind was blowing out. It's blowing in today. Come on, Johnny DeMarco, director. Give us a shot of that. Those flags in right center. There you go.
Certainly sounded good off the bat. That's for sure.
Okay, that's enough, John. Please.
No, hold it.
So now Tyler Austin comes to plate for the Yankees. We take a look at his numbers last year with AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. 2 home runs already in spring training.
Saw this young man coming out of the cages today. He is a mountain of a man. Tall, thick, strong.
Well, they're all working out, and the generations that are going by, the guys are just taller and thicker.
Keith, you would have played at like 230.
Yeah, I would have taken 225. You can throw me an outside linebacker too if you wanted.
'13th round draft pick back in 2010. He's 6'2", 222, certainly formidable in the cage. Takes a look at strike 2, so Wheeler now a strike away from getting out of the first.
The other thing that when Wheeler's at his best, he throws a little bit across his body, which makes it really difficult on the right-handed hitter if he's sharp.
It's fouled off to the right.
Christopher Tyler Austin from Georgia. I mean, they just produce ball players down there like it's water.
Atlanta certainly draw, the Braves certainly draw from that well a lot. That's for sure. They love to get their homegrown players.
Wheeler gets the sign from Darno. That's outside and low.
Although Austin grew up a Yankee fan, a fan of Derek Jeter, which mustn't have made him very popular in Georgia in '96 when the Yankees came back. That's the Leyritz home run, right?
Leyritz home run in Game 4.
Coney pitched a big Game 3, I believe.
And Andy Pettit outdueling John Smoltz in Game 5. Send it back to New York. And Wheeler gets him to chase for strike 3. So Zach Wheeler with 2 strikeouts in the top of the first. Mets coming to the plate when we return. Leads off, followed by Cespedes, Bruce, Frazier, and Gonzalez. Matt Dendecker gets the start. He'll hit 9th. That's presented by Geico.
Well, I was prepared for Luis Cessa, but we got Domingo Germán. And Germán was with the Marlins, traded with Nathan Eovaldi and Garrett Jones in 2014 for Martin Prado and David Phelps. Got a cup of coffee last year, 7 games with the Yanks.
That's high and outside for ball 1.
You think about Cabrera leading off, Keith. Nice on-base percentage in his career. You like that?
I like him in the 2-hole better. He handles the bat well. I like Reyes up top because Reyes provides a little bit of speed. Of course, we're all talking because Conforto's not going to be out there. I think eventually Conforto is going to be your number 3 hitter.
It's nice to see that Conforto looks like he's on his timeline, or maybe even a little ahead of his timeline.
Well, he took some swings in BP in the cage, not 100% swings, but he says that he's not even a thought in the back of his mind about his shoulder, and he feels strong and ready to go.
There's Yoenis Cespedes. He homered yesterday off Colin McHugh to straightaway center. Umpires had a little discussion about the ground rules here at first day to field. Would have been interesting if he was thrown out at 3rd after he went to his home run trot, but they eventually got it right, and that is smoked foul.
You can feel it if you watch Cespedes enough. You can start to feel when he's starting to get on the ball, and he did it in yesterday's game. A bullet right there down the line.
Still got 3 weeks to opening day. A lot of spring training left.
Keith, how do you pace yourself for that grind? You get the adrenaline of the first couple of games, and then, like you said, you look at the calendar, and March 29th is still 3 weeks away. So what's the key to ramping it up so that you're at peak performance on opening day?
Well, I can tell you one thing, Eamon, in that when you're a veteran, you don't get amped up for the first 2 games of spring training. You start getting amped up around the last week. That's when you want to turn it on.
Fly ball to left. Gardner with the sunglasses makes the grab.
And we'll take a look at your New York Yankee Mercedes defense. Center fielder Estevan Florial. Keep an eye on that kid. He's supposed to be something. He's starting out in center field. I'm anxious to take a look at him. The veteran, ex-national Danny Espinoza, switch hitting second baseman. Not the A team here today for the Yanks.
Jay Bruce steps in. That's inside. Yankees start off with a shift on Bruce, who homered on Sunday against Edwin Jackson.
We talked about Drury playing second base for the Diamondbacks, so they move him from third all the way into the outfield in this shift. Keep Torreyes at short.
Vermont gets a strike there to even the count at 1-1.
Saw yesterday the Astros, they shifted every player, every pitch.
Bruce chases that one outside, bloops it to left. Gardner has a beat on it and makes the grab. So 1-2-3, bottom of the first for the Mets. It's scoreless after 1. Espinosa leads things off for the Yankees, facing Zach Wheeler. That's outside.
We used to always get a kick out of Espinosa because they'd always have his picture on the board at Citi Field with the big full beard. Of course, not able to have that with the Yankees organization. Clean cut.
So that's the man behind the beard.
Yeah.
Ooh. Sends that one to Reyes at short, who makes the grab on a softly hit line drive. Guess that's an oxymoron, a softly hit line drive, but you get the point.
I got it. The hitter likes you to call it a line drive. The pitcher likes you to call it softly hit.
Ronnie, what was your reaction when you saw the quotes from Zach Wheeler, who was, you know, I don't know if is upset the right term, when the Mets went out and acquired Jason Vargas, which certainly put his spot in the rotation in jeopardy? You
know, he hasn't done enough to really get upset
Correct.
about acquisitions in the offseason. You know, if he was a perennial 30-start guy, 200-inning guy, putting it out there on the line, then yeah, you might have a gripe and want to say something, but he doesn't have enough gravitas to say anything. What he should do is concentrate on that 60 feet 6 inches and be excellent in the month of March.
Well, he took his words back the next day immediately. Nice.
Hits that one past Reyes. That was a line drive in the center. And the Yankees have a base runner with 1 out.
Well, all the fanfare of this Met rotation, you know, DeGrom has certainly lived up to it. Syndergaard has certainly lived up to it, although last year was a lost season for him. And I agree. I like what Dave Eiland has done coming over here, the new Met pitching coach. He has challenged this team. It's time to put up or shut up. Get out there and do it. You know, you can read all the clippings you want, and you got all the potential you want. But get out there and do it. It's time. And I like that. I like that he's done that, Dave Eiland, to his pitchers.
Ronald Torreyes now hitting with a runner on.
Yeah, Eiland was the pitching coach for many years for the Yankees, for the Royals, of course, in 2015 and other years. But there's a if you talk to Dave, there's a real seriousness to Dave. He is he's not there to fun and games. We're here to work.
That is sent out to right. Dendecker is there for the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, I always like it when Wheeler throws strikes. He's got good fastball. It's actually showing a nice little breaking ball today. And making a nod from Eiland right there. They're liking what they're seeing.
I bet you they're saying stuff like, you know, this kid just knew how good he is. I mean, he could really shine in this league.
If he can just hone his pitches.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the kind of guy that can get by with fastball, hard slider. I mean, he throws bullets, has a hard breaking ball.
You know, when I played, the goal was how easily can you throw the ball hard. In today's game, it's a little different. You know, it's like how hard can you throw the ball as hard as you can. But in my day, it was how easily can you throw the ball hard. Wheeler's that guy. Doesn't look like he's even trying, and the ball shoots out 95 plus.
And Mickey Callaway has alluded to that so far in spring training, saying, look, there's no doubt he's a starting pitcher in the major leagues. It's just a question of staying healthy and being more consistent and reliable. And Wheeler has said that he's sick and tired of hearing that label about being, you know, undependable and always hurt. He says, you know, he set out one of the reasons why he took those shots is, look, he wants to make 30 starts. Shane Robinson at the plate for the Yankees. 2 out, 1 on.
Listen, Zach, his entire history with the Mets, he has not proven to be any kind of malcontent. That was just a competitor speaking. That happens. But the best way to open eyes is to do it on the field, not through. Are we the media, Keith? I guess we are.
We just, yeah. That's the hard thing. You know, we have to shed our skin.
Kind of the opposite last year. About this time last year, no one really expected anything from Zach Wheeler, and he pitched his way not just onto the team but into the starting rotation as that slapped foul. He had a very impressive end to spring training. You know, there was all that, you know, debate or discussion about, you know, innings limit. When do you start him? Do you wait for after the All-Star break? And he just went out and pitched well enough in spring training that they had to bring him up.
Well, they've done a lot of talk about how to protect pitchers. What they really need to do with these guys is let them pitch and see what they can do. Protection is over.
Acquired from the Giants, of course, for Carlos Beltran. Off-speed pitch, pulled foul. Great crowd on hand here, as you might expect. The Mets hosting the Yankees. And luckily for them, the forecast was a bit off, and it's turned out to be a pleasant afternoon. That is pulled past Jose Reyes in the left for a base hit, so the Yankees have 2 on with 2 outs.
Well, Shane Robinson in his home state, Florida State Seminole. I remember when he first came up with the Cardinals. Fooled, but still with the base hit, Keith.
Kept his hands back, let go with one hand. The slider didn't get away enough.
And that brings up the man Keith's interested in seeing this afternoon, Estevan Florial, who has been as advertised so far in camp for the Yankees after a strong season in Charleston. Swings and misses at that one, but you don't have to see him in the box too long to see why Aaron Boone says it reminds him of Tony Fernandez.
Tony Fernandez, I would say in today's player, a little bit like Gregory Polanco for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's got a long and powerful swing.
Looks a little like a young, skinny Barry Bonds up there. Not saying that he's going to be a Barry Bonds, but I'm just saying purely physical.
I mean, it's a pretty looking swing.
A little bit of that leg kick. A little tardy on that.
You have to go back in the video archives to find a young, skinny Barry Bonds, but it definitely does exist.
Well, Ronnie and I remember well.
That's right. Tony Fernandez, El Cabeza, played for the Yankees, began his career with Toronto, went to San Diego in that big trade.
It's inside.
I played against Tony when he was with in the International League with the Syracuse Chiefs, and you knew he was going to be an outstanding player.
So now Wheeler looking for his third strikeout of the game to get out of the second. Does not get the call there.
Well, if you were making that pitch, what is it, March 7th today, the backdoor breaking ball? If you're making that pitch, hitters have no chance.
Home plate umpire Chris Conroy says it's ball 2.
If someone throws that hard and drops that back door on you, I don't think in July you're going to have a chance at it.
That one's definitely high and away, so the count goes full.
Skipper
standing up now. This is an important at bat. It looks like he's got off the comfort of the chair. Looking at the 3-2 pitch from Wheeler with 2 on and 2 out. Runners go. And he gets them looking. So Wheeler gets his third strikeout to get out of a little bit of trouble. Bottom of the second, Mets hitting when we return. Scoreless here in Port St. Lucie. Back here at first day at the field, bottom of the second, Todd Frazier steps in to lead things off for the Mets against Domingo Germán.
Funky motion, Ron. Arm delivery.
Very short arm delivery. When I first saw him throw, I felt a little twinge in my arm. It was getting a little sore, but just unusual delivery. Hides the ball pretty well, though. Could be unusual for Frazier. Here's the windup that Keith was talking about. Keeps the ball hidden right behind his leg and doesn't really reach out, brings it right to his ear, throws more like a catcher than a pitcher.
That's outside. Had 7 relief appearances over 4 stints with the Yankees last year. At one point in one game, 6 strikeouts in 4 innings against Oakland on June 17th in his 2nd appearance of the season.
I like the shoes. Is that the gray shoes?
He's got gray shoes, and he's got that little toe guard which protects that right foot. It's all gray. See it?
It looks nice with the uniform. I like that. Unlike the day glow over there. I thought it was
Cabrera.
Oh.
Gabby.
Frazier said it was going to be business as usual facing his former team. And he doesn't like that business as he goes down swinging.
Of course. It's just the same guy wearing a different uniform. It's a good pitch right here. Sinker underneath. Down and in. That's a pretty good pitch.
First strikeout of the afternoon for the righty. Now he faces Adrian Gonzalez, and the Yankees go back to the shift.
Good changeup. That was 93. Come on. That's a changeup.
I think that was like a sinking fastball.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the shift right there, folks. I think Adrian's going to see a lot of that this year. Doesn't run well. This guy's throwing pretty good. Long legs.
What's interesting about Gonzalez, and maybe it's because of his injury-riddled year last year, I never remembered him being this aggressive. Really swinging early and a lot so far in spring training.
Told us yesterday, certainly motivated by the off year last year with the Dodgers and not really getting any respect during the off season. It's certainly safe to say that most of the baseball world thinks there's very little left in the tank, and he's out here to prove everyone wrong and contribute to this Mets team.
Hey, listen, when a young guy, whippersnapper, comes up and drops 39 home runs on you, I mean, you know, what would you do if you're the Dodgers? Bellinger is a heck of a player. It'll be interesting to see if Bellinger can find that magic again, because one of the hardest things as young players is that they get the book on you pretty quick with all the advanced metrics and video, etc.
Well,
Gonzalez chases there. Back-to-back strikeouts for Herman.
Kind of like a split finger kind of changeup.
Look at the long fingers on this guy.
Incredibly long fingers. And see how that ball is just turning over, running away from Gonzalez. I mean, so much movement. You see where Roman caught that? Right in the palm of his glove, not even in the pocket.
That brings up Jose Reyes. 2 hits so far here in spring training.
Rosario's got to get his fanny back out there on the field. Start playing. Get that leg healed and get out there.
It's been out since Saturday. It's now soreness in the groin area. Originally thought to be a knee injury, and now maybe overcompensating.
Yeah, a groin or a hamstring, although the MRI didn't see anything. But Keith is right. You know, he can't make the club in the tub.
Ooh, Gene Tennis. Dropped that line on me once. Had a sprained ankle. Can't make the club while sitting in the tub.
Reyes holds up. Keith, what do you, I mean, you played a different position, but what do you think he's missing the most? Is it the work in the morning? Is it the game action? I mean, what do you think he's missing the most, not getting the opportunities this week? Getting
out here and playing. This is where you build your stamina. I don't care what kind of shape you're in, and these guys are, boy, what an inning for that young man. I don't care what kind of shape you're in. There's nothing, no substitute to getting out there and standing around and playing 9 innings, and you build it up. You need to do that. You need to get that.
fans are out.
It's tough for the kids, though, because, you know, they love to roll down that hill, and you can't do it with the packed house.
Well,
a lot more people chasing the home run balls.
Oh, good. They can pay attention and watch the game.
Keith, can you take my kids to a game, please? Take them to City Field. All they do is hang out and play wiffle ball all day. They have the time of their lives.
That's fine.
How many times did you go to Fenway when you were a kid?
Oh, 3, 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah. And it'd always be on like the Little League, 2 buses, yellow buses out there.
You were watching though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sitting out in right field about as high as you could sit. And, you know, seeing Yaz in left field. And I mean, you would walk through those portals. It was like you walked into a magic kingdom.
I mean, it was for me, and I maybe saw a dozen games growing up, but when Hank Aaron came to the plate and Eddie Matthews, I mean, that got your attention. You know, then the Reds would come to town, and Frank Robinson, Vada Pinson, and you watched. I wanted to see him swing.
Well, I don't think the Yankees are going to suffer from that. I think when Judge and Stanton are up, there's no one going to be at any line anywhere.
Gazelman warming up. He should take over after this inning. The map for Mickey Callaway. That's high. Count goes to 2-2.
Early in spring training, this is the most important inning for you as a starting pitcher. You want to finish strong, because now's the time that you know, you're not gassed, but you're feeling a little tired because you haven't built up, you know, your innings yet.
Gardner slaps that one to Frazier. Long throw across the diamond, and the speedy Gardner beats it out.
Gardner can still fly.
His second hit of the afternoon.
Catches everything in left field. He's got some pop. Can almost hold on to that one.
Yeah.
Frazier.
So now second at bat of the afternoon for Brandon Drury. Brandon grew up in Oregon, where he was a travel team teammate of one Michael Conforto. Probably would have been college teammates at Oregon State as well if he didn't decide to go pro after being drafted by the Braves. Wheeler checks on Gardner.
It's amazing, isn't it? You know, where Keith grew up in Pacifica, I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts. So in our village or town, those are the players we played against. And now today's real good players are playing against the best players in the country. I don't think we'd been able to. My family wouldn't have been able to afford.
No, mine wouldn't have either.
Yeah.
It's a different ball game today, though.
Well, that's almost the problem now with youth sports across the board, not just baseball, but pay for play. If you're not Ron Darling at the age of 7 or Keith Hernandez at the age of 8, there's very little opportunity to get on those teams and develop.
It, you know, and there's a lot of, I know there's a big business for former players, private coaching.
Right.
I mean, that, you know, I had one private coach, the big guy.
Yep.
Yeah, but they don't listen to Dad anymore, so you got to get the private coach. Sorry, that's too much anymore.
See, you know more about that stuff than me.
In my day, Eamon, I didn't listen to my dad at my own peril.
Believe me, my day as well, but that day is come and gone, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, I guess. Who knows? We'll turn our attention back to the game, and Brandon Drury up with an 0-2 count.
Invite Keith and I over for a barbecue. We'll straighten it out.
Wheeler looking for his 4th strikeout of the game. Drury sends that to Reyes. They get the out at second.
Nice.
And they turn 2. 6-4-3.
Those ones off the bat that you don't think are going to be a double play that your infielders turn are heaven sent for a pitcher.
Well, Reyes comes quick on it. Quick release. A nice turn by Cabrera. And you can't take a guy out anymore. So there's a little less fear.
Now, if that happens on March 29th, we may be here for a while, taking another look at it. Look, here we move on to Andujar.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice little hook there.
you know, what would happen when you could take a guy out is Cabby would have had to come racing across the bag to avoid being taken out, and he wouldn't have got as much on the throw.
Exactly. Or he would have had to take it to the left field side of second base. The longer throw.
But still, in 2018, what's the difference between spring training and regular season with the way Gardner would go in there? I mean, obviously you can't take him out.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, you just slide. You're not going to try to hurt anybody in spring training. Not that anybody ever tried to take anybody, but that took people out, tried to hurt people. A good breaking ball. 3 in a row.
Out in front of that one.
So you just slide early and get the heck out of the way.
Yeah, just slide straight into the bag.
Wheeler looking to end his afternoon with a strikeout, and he does just that. As he gets Andujar swinging for his 4th strikeout of the game. So 3 scoreless innings in the books for Zach Wheeler. Innings of work here against the Yankees, allowed 4 hits, but also struck out 4 and didn't allow a run.
You know, one of your favorite parts of spring training as a pitcher is if you have 3 sharp innings, pitching coach comes over and gives you the scouting report, your grade report, and it's all good.
Well, Zach's got to feel good about that outing, that's for sure. Got the curveball over in that last inning, went to it, got the strikeout for the final out on breaking balls. If he gets that curve over, you know, that's it. I mean, how many guys have we seen, Ronnie, over the years that had great stuff like that and never got the command? Those that found it had success.
You know, they always talk about the 5 o'clock hitter, guy who could hit in the cage before the game, who's outstanding. The same thing happens in pitching. The guys who can throw on the side and you go, this guy should, you know, well, I know wins don't matter anymore, but this guy should really be successful. And they're not, and it's hard to understand why sometimes.
So Herman back out there after a very impressive second when he struck out the side. You know, Ronnie, we just saw Dave Island and Zach Wheeler. To go back to your career, I mean, obviously these pitchers like Dan Worthen and certainly Dave Island's respected, but what's sort of that transition like, going from a new voice and hearing maybe the same thing but a different way?
Well, I think what happens sometimes, while be out of play, is that, you know, Dan was such a genial like grandfather type guy to be around, and I think the pitchers really cared and liked him. But I think right now, considering what happened last year, you needed a little tougher love to come in here, and I think Dave Island is a very serious cat, and he's not coming here to have fun. He's coming here to produce results and wins, and he knows he has a talented bunch, and he wants to get the most out of them. So it's sometimes just hearing it from a different voice is important.
And Herman loses Darno, but he does have a sense of humor. He was asked if the long bus ride to Tampa would impact whether or not Jacob deGrom makes the start on, fourth day or fifth day. He says, well, he can stay at my house. Well, me and my wife will go find a hotel room. We can have a nice comfortable bed in Tampa and get there in advance.
And speaking of deGrom, it looks like he's on schedule for a Sunday start. He had a good toss yesterday through live
BP, yeah.
BP simulated game.
Simulated game is a better term, I guess, and so he'll get his pitch on the fifth day, which will be Sunday.
Juan Lagares, one of those batters he faced in that simulated game, fouls that one straight back. Dom Smith and Tim Tebow, the other hitters.
I don't know anything about hitting. That's why I defer to number 17 here. Sometimes when I watch Juan hit, or when he's in the batter's box, I wish he'd just let the talent flow and kind of free it up and become less mechanical. If you know what I mean.
But that's what he is, and that's his style of hitting. And I really think, last year, over the years, we've always said, particularly last year, gosh, he hit so many balls hard on the ground right at people. So I'm not a guy with this
launch angle stuff.
Launch angle, but you know what? It's at a point now with Juan that maybe try something new.
He's really standing up a lot straighter than before.
Yes.
My estimation.
Takes a look at that one. Certainly an important spring in April for him when you take a look at his career, because Michael Conforto's coming back at some point, and Brandon Nimmo's having a very impressive spring.
Lagares, if you want to have a team based on pitching, if he could go out there and hit you 250 with a little bit of damage, he's got to be in there most of the time because of his defensive strengths. Can he do that? I don't know.
If he
can you do that when Michael Conforto's healthy on May 15th or May 8th with Jay Bruce and Yoenis Cespedes?
Oh, no. Conforto's going to be in there. I mean, this is going to be patchwork. I think that's going to be kind of a platoon with Nimmo and Lagares until Conforto returns. It's going to be the problem of any manager when you've got a solid bench, and the Mets have a nice bench this year, Eamon, and I like it. It's the best bench they've had in a while. The most difficult thing for a manager is keeping them in the rhythm of the season. You got to get them playing time, and that's a very difficult thing to do, particularly early in the season when your everyday players don't need rest. It's cold up north. You're starting. I mean, I wouldn't want an off day in April. What do I need an off day in April for? What would I need an off day in May for? If you want to sprinkle one in June and July and maybe two in August, I'll take it.
Lagares with a quality at bat here against Herman.
But it's also interesting. I'm sorry to interrupt, Eamon. We had a meeting with Sandy Alderson and how they've got it clocked in that each player plays X amount of days, then gets an off day. It's scheduled, no matter what. I could be in if it was me and I say I'm in a 10 for 15 tear, what are you taking me out of the lineup for? I don't want out of the lineup.
How about if Steve Carlton's pitching? You're in 10 out of 15.
Oh, he hit well against Carlton.
I hit well against Carlton.
Bad guy choices, Lagares.
But if you want to give me a day off, give me a day off against Nepper. Bob Nepper.
Larry McWilliams. Good breaking ball there from Herman.
Fourth strikeout of the afternoon.
This young pitcher's been impressive also, Herman. His breaking ball, ability to throw strikes.
I mean, I kind of know, not to beat a dead horse, what they're thinking, the front office and the analytics. It's a long season, and you don't want to run your player into the ground. And, okay, would I have been stronger in September if I would have had I think it's every 10 days or 2 weeks you get an off day? 10 days to me seems way too soon. Would I have been stronger in July, August, and September? I mean, I always had good second halves. But there is some merit to the philosophy.
Matt Dendecker at the plate. 1 on, 1 out.
It's like prehab instead of rehab.
That's in there for strike 2. Dendecker, of course, second tour duty with the Mets, drafted by the club back in 2010. And traded to the Nats for Jerry Blevins. He goes down swinging there. Come on, impressing right now.
Just pounded him in, and then when he got ahead, went away with that little Fosh changeup of his, or whatever it is.
Got good stuff, this kid.
Mets now go to back to the top of the order with Asdrubal Cabrera.
Everybody's got a changeup now. That's the pitch. They're teaching it in the minor leagues, letting them take their lumps down there and honing that pitch, and they come up to the big leagues. They're ready to throw it, and I think that's a good thing.
Cabrera fouls that one back. 82 miles per hour.
Oh, look at that. That's a.
He's got his nickname on his shoes, Cabby. Oh, there he goes.
Warning, warning.
It works. It's security when he's not in the lineup.
It's like a glow ball.
Checks on d'Arnaud at first.
That's a color shirt from the security people here that you put on your kids when they're little when you go to Disney World, so you don't lose them. Got his glove though, ready to go.
Need to in that seat. Lefty like Cabrera gets sawed off. Get there in a hurry. Bottom of the third, 2 outs. Runner on. Travis d'Arnaud at first. Asdrubal Cabrera second at bat of the ball game. Can't catch up to that pitch. So now Germán 1 strike away from his 6th strikeout of the game.
Kind of just like a floater in there, although that one he threw by him upstairs. That was a fastball. Just hides the ball so well, Germán.
d'Arnaud goes. Great jump, and he hits it against the shift for a base hit. But d'Arnaud, for some reason, got caught up at second. I wonder if Torreyes got in his way or not, but instead of first and third, it's first and second.
No, he never located the ball.
He never located the balls right. That's why he slid. He never looked back. He has no idea where the ball's going. I don't know if he could have gone first and third anyway. That ball's hit so hard.
Can I ask a dumb question? With 2 outs, didn't he hear the bat? Did he not hear the ball off the bat?
That's right. You would think so, but you know, guys who don't run, when they leave the bag, they just have one intention, and that is, boy, I might be able to steal a base here, as opposed to looking in and identifying the sound of the bat means that you can keep going. What's the worst that happens? It's right at someone.
So an RBI situation for Yoenis Cespedes now in the bottom of the third with 2 outs, 2 on. Flew out to left in his first at bat. Yankees put the shift on Cespedes as well. Come on. Makes him move his feet inside. And now Cespedes in a hitter's count, 2-0.
When Cespedes is going good, occasionally he'll sit on a little breaking ball here.
Well, it's your pitch to pick, you know.
Yep.
Wanted that one.
No, he went right after him.
Austin Romine out to talk to Germán about the 2-1 pitch.
About the slider he called, but he threw fastball. That's what he's out there to talk to him about.
How many more walks to the mound does he have now?
I'm confused about that. I said yesterday to Wayne Randazzo, who's doing the game, I said, I'm not going to talk about it until March 29th. So why don't we just wait till then, and then we'll be totally confused.
Yeah, but I have a lapse of memory.
Okay.
Please refresh me.
Okay.
How many are you allowed a game now? Is it, Ronnie? Come on.
I think it's a six-pack, isn't it?
All right, who's keeping track? Is it the third base umpire? The home plate umpire has to keep the count.
I think Gary might have it covered.
Oh, I forgot. I bet you when he does Seton Hall, he knows how many fouls everybody has.
Timeouts.
Of course you do. You have to.
Yeah.
And he goes inside on Cespedes.
This is what happens when Cespedes, you fear a little bit as the third base coach, Glenn Sherlock, so you get out of Dodge.
What I don't like about that, is I've never seen that, is that you rely on voice from the third base coach when you're a runner at second base.
Off speed pitch for ball 4, so the bases are loaded for Jay Bruce.
Oh, they're going to go out with pitcher coach Larry Rothschild, and I think they're going out with an interpreter also.
Yep. So Herman was sailing along until Cabrera with the hit-and-run base hit.
I don't care how good you're going. A couple on with Cespedes up, it gets your attention. You know, you're aggressive with every hitter, and then Cespedes comes up, and you're like, whoop, got to be a little more careful.
So Chris Conroy, the home plate umpire, is going to making his way to break this meeting up. Rothschild senses it.
That was a long trip out there.
Well, you got two guys talking to you. Takes twice the time.
That's a good point, Eamon. You know, may have to file a grievance.
You? You're going to file a grievance? A booth grievance?
So the Yankees going to find out a little bit more about Domingo Germán this spring as Jay Bruce steps in with the bases loaded. That's ball 1.
Always like to get ahead of a pitcher on that first pitch and have him miss with a breaking ball where you got men on base where you can hurt him. You're 1-0 and he's missed with his secondary pitch.
No, he's 2-0.
Is this even better?
That's what the doctor ordered. Now you got to execute.
Yeah, right.
That's the hard part.
The ball is going to go out today. It'll go out to right field.
That's where Bruce homered on Sunday. Again, fell behind Cespedes. Now he's behind against Bruce. And Bruce sends out a fly ball to center. Florial now coming in, and he drops it. So 2-run score on the drop by Estevan Florial, who was fighting the sun from the get-go. And the Mets take a 2-0 lead.
Well, only a couple of runs scored there. He was not only fighting the sun, but occasionally you watch an outfielder who does not want any part of a fly ball, and Florial didn't want any part of that one.
Well, you got to know how the wind's blowing. He's already had a fly ball that was knocked down in the wind earlier, so you can play maybe a little more shallow.
So Domingo Germán's afternoon is done. Ben Heller comes out of the pen to take over for Aaron Boone and the Yankees, but the Mets break through first. They lead 2-0 here in the third. Ben Heller now on the mound for the Yankees as the Mets take a 2-run lead on the error by Estevan Florial. Off the bat of Jay Bruce.
In defense of Florial in that play, and we were talking about where were the middle infielders there? I mean, that they got to know the ball's going to be blown back in. That should have been Espinosa or Torres' ball.
Yeah, they could have certainly given him some help, right?
Yep.
There's a look at Heller's numbers. This is his 5th spring training appearance. And Frazier, here we go again. Florial giving it another run.
He's got it.
And he's got it for the final out of the inning. So lesson learned by the young outfielder for the Yankees, but the Mets break through. They get 2 on the board and lead 2-0. Fifth when the Mets take on the Colorado Rockies at 7:10 p.m. The first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive the Yoenis Cespedes Garden Gnome, courtesy of New Balance. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets.
I don't quite understand what this is. Tell me, explain it to me.
I don't know either. I don't know the difference between the bobblehead and the garden gnome. I know what a garden
bobblehead
gnome
can sit
is.
on your desk. The garden gnome sits in your garden.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And right now, Robert Gesellman is on the mound, sitting nowhere, standing upright and throwing his second pitch right back up the middle. Off the glove of Cabrera, so a base hit for Tyler Austin.
Nice try by Cabrera.
So you have garden gnomes to what? I have garden gnomes in my front lawn to try to scare off the deer so they don't get in and eat my flowers.
Well, then
I live on 16th Street, Keith. I can't help you on your garden or your deers.
Then you better get yourself a couple of Cespedes garden gnomes.
Gesellman making his 3rd spring training start. That's an Espinosa, and he lines that one to Reyes. Austin back to first. Gesellman coming off a disappointing campaign, 8-7 with an ERA over 5. But Ron, it seemed that he straightened it out in September, finishing strong.
He did. Hard to judge, you know, the numbers in September. What you did see during most of the year was Robert had a hard time keeping the ball in the ballpark, which a lot of pitchers had. So it's hard to blame him. I mean, guys are just hitting the ball out of the ballpark at a record pace. But you know what we didn't see from the year prior, when he was so good down the stretch, see the numbers, is you know, that real good hard sinker that the hitters put into play on the ground. You know, generate some double plays.
4-2 with a 2.63 ERA in 2016. As Austin Romine fouls that one away.
You know, he's got good enough stuff. He's going to have some games where he has some strikeouts, but I would not consider him a strikeout pitcher. He should be a pitch to contact pitcher.
There you see his turnaround last 8 games. Of course, if you upset the general manager, it behooves you to finish strongly.
That's right. That's right.
Romine again slaps that one foul.
I remember years where I'd go an entire year without really ever having a real conversation with Davey Johnson or Frank Cashin. And you consider that probably a pretty good year. You didn't left you alone because you did your job.
Romine foul down the line. You know, Ron, I enjoyed reading your book about Game 7, about how that played a role sometimes in your pitch. Well, if I lose him here, is Davey going to come talk to me? Do I have to deal with that? Or, you know, sort of that impact on your approach.
Davey was such a smart manager, and you know, I was lucky to have Mel Stottlemyre, was, you know, one of the best pitching coaches anyone could have asked for early in his career. But you know what makes your manager angry.
And there's a base hit for Romine. Well, then here's a question you've probably already been asked, but you know, when your manager is a pitcher and an excellent pitching coach already, as you mentioned, Dave Eiland, certainly, you know, one of the best in the business at his job as well, but now you have sort of that extra layer or second set of ears to talk to.
Well, I think in spring training, I think that's very important. But when the games start, I think Mickey's focus is going to be right on the game. He's got to be able to give Dave Eiland the bit and say, listen, you're in charge of the pitchers. I've got to be in charge of what happens between the lines. And after the game, we can talk about what we saw, but not during.
So now Torreyes with 2 on, and they
got him
advancing, and d'Arnaud no throw. So heads up base running by Tyler Austin to get to third. And a ball that got away from d'Arnaud.
I'm not sure if that ball hit the dirt or not.
I don't think it did.
But very heads up by Austin, and they're going to rule that a pass ball. I think anything, Eamon, you can pick up from any coach, whether it's offense, hitting coach, or a pitching coach. Everybody has something to offer, a little bit of information that you can pick up on that might work for you.
So Torreyes pulls that one. Frazier goes to second for one. Cabrera had to go up high to get it, so no chance to turn 2, and the Yankees get on the board. So the pass ball turns to be costly.
Well, I don't think they were going to turn this anyways. The high throw from Frazier notwithstanding. See Cabby off the bag, but then comes back and touches it with his left foot. Torreyes got too much speed.
What's going on?
I mean, is that your phone or what is that?
Sorry.
I thought we were getting scores around the spring training.
London calling.
Great album there by The Clash, yes. London Calling.
I was thinking F.R. Murrow. I got to turn it off. Was everybody think I'm...
What's going on
There's
there?
nothing to do with popularity. Trust me, those 3 rings, I don't want anything to do with them.
Oh, mid-season form. Here we go.
The 0-1 pitch to Shane Robinson is outside. 1-1.
Gotta be careful here. Torreyes, I know the Mets pitchers have been working real hard to keep the runner close. Torreyes has got enough speed to steal a bag to get in scoring position with 2 outs. So Gesellman's got to keep his eye on him.
And there he does. Torreyes slides back in safely. Selman said he spent most of the offseason getting the body in shape and working on that sinker. He said, I learned my body this offseason.
Well, an outstanding basketball player in his youth in Los Angeles. Someone's got a chance to be a real talent in this game.
Reyes goes, high pitch. And he's in there easily on the one hopper to Cabrera.
A little bit of a hesitation from d'Arnaud there in that throw. Watch him here. A little bit of a stutter. That little wiggle. He's got to get rid of that wiggle. You don't want that wiggle.
Tries to transfer the ball one-handed from the glove to his hand. And I don't know if he has smaller hands, but he doesn't always make that transition seamlessly.
Right back up the middle, but it takes a good hop for the Mets right to Cabrera. So that does it for the fourth. Yankees get on the board, though. Mets lead 2-1. The fans have come out to see the Mets and the Yankees. We go to the bottom of the fourth. Adrian Gonzalez leads off against Ben Heller, with the Mets leading 2-1. Gonzalez struck out against Domingo Germán in his first time at bat. Heller quickly behind 2-0.
Heller was a big part of the trade for Andrew Miller with the Cleveland Indians.
Gonzalez pulls that one into the shift. Nice play there. Reyes.
Was that a 5-3?
5-3. That was Drury.
That was Drury.
Yep, that's what I thought. 5-3. R. Right side. Very nice play.
That could have been made by two different infielders with that kind of shift. I was saying he's a big part of that Andrew Miller trade. Clint Frazier came over, one of their prospects, left-handed pitcher Justice Sheffield.
Jose Reyes first pitch swinging. And Austin makes the grab in foul territory for the second out. So that'll bring up Travis d'Arnaud.
No, let's not argue now.
Exactly. Let's get a long night.
Come on.
Oh. Everyone's playing nicely now.
Oh, he took him out. He took him out.
Took himself out.
Outnumbered.
That's for sure. Didn't expect that to happen in Port St. Lucie. That those thunder sticks are looking to be dangerous out there.
You can only channel Bobby Bowe. We can show you how we do it in the Bronx. Remember?
Oh, they're done.
You're lucky the killer's not here. My son Cash was here today, Keith.
He's not here?
He was here early this morning.
I got to see him. I haven't seen him in a while.
Here's the 1-1 from Heller.
I know that you're a little worried that I might be a bad influence on him, Ron, but come on. He's not old enough yet.
Heller had 3 stints with the big club last year. He was 1-0 with an ERA under 1. Gets strike 2 there.
Well, there's not a lot of holes in that bullpen, right, for the Yankees. So much talent with Chapman, Betances, and David Robertson, and Chad Green, and go on and on and on. Tommy Canley.
They've got they got a good bullpen.
So, you know, Ron, when you're talking earlier about all the question marks in the rotation, not necessarily in the talent, but in the ability to finish the season, the Yankees seem to be perfect for this new, trend of go 5, go 5.5, and then hand it over. As d'Arnaud sends that out to the gap. And the wind is not holding up. That's gone to right center. A home run for Travis d'Arnaud.
Anything up in the air to right field is going out today. Good swing by Travis.
High fastball. Outer half. There's that level swing. You see, swing level and you get under it. That ball will go. You get a little backspin. The laces aren't as big around the, as bulbous around the ball now. It kind of cuts through the air. Ronnie, as you explained to me a couple days ago, I never thought of that. You had a very good point. Good swing right there.
He knew it.
Nice.
Harris hits that one hard for a base hit to center. Well, the Met bats making noise here in the 4th. And then I'll bring up Matt Dendecker.
Well, Juan always stays level on the ball belt high enough. He's a high ball hitter and likes the ball out over the plate. And I'm not seeing the launch angle from him that he said that he worked on in the offseason. So I feel we should explain that, Ron, is that Ronnie says the seams on the ball when he pitched were more raised from the rawhide.
I mean, when I this morning I was playing catch with my son and my nephew, and it was a Major League Baseball. And of course, as Matt Dendecker gets hit in the foot, that one hurt. He gets hit by the pitch. Hey, listen, I pitched long enough. Breaking ball gets him in the foot. I pitched long enough that you know what a baseball feels like, right? You know what it feels like in your hand. I know how it was to scratch those seams and raise them a little bit. Gives you a little more bite on a breaking ball. And the ball just does not feel the same as it did when I pitched. And I know it's been a long, long time. That being said, what I was telling Keith is that, when the seams seem to be not as prevalent as they were before, like a golf ball, ball's going to just stay in the air. I mean, the natural part of the seams spinning, right, if it doesn't have backspin, is that the gravity is going to want to work it down. The less seams, the more it'll stay in the air.
Right.
And that's why you can hit a golf ball 300 yards.
It just stands. What struck me was that it's the raised seams with the wind resistance. It bites into the wind and allows the breaking ball to break. Well, the same principle with the ball traveling in the air. You have less seams grabbing the resistance of the air. Its ball's going to go further. I'd never thought of that, Ron, and it makes perfect sense.
Now the dispute will come. Well, he pitched 30, 40 years ago. So how does he know what the ball feels like now? Well, listen, you ask anyone that played the piano for a long time if they know where the keys are. Yeah, they know where the keys are. You know what a ball feels like. don't even get started on how the balls are rubbed up. Used to be rubbed up where you'd get them out there. They're pretty dark. They're pretty slick now, pretty white, and that makes it a little more difficult to throw your pitches also.
So Cabrera able to hold up to work the count to 2-2.
You used to be able to go on the mound, and I could tell you who the home plate umpire was by picking up the ball before the game started, because you knew exactly how they rubbed it up. If it was almost black, Frank Pulley was behind the plate that day, because he would put a lot of work. The umpires used to rub the balls up in those days before the game.
The home plate umpire, that was his job.
He would put a lot of work into making sure those balls are really tacky and nice to pitch with.
So you can imagine, folks, with the umpires having to rub the balls up, how many balls they had to rub up in the course of a game. So that's got to be well over an hour pre-game rubbing up baseballs for every ball game. The home plate umpire. Now they're done by other people.
They're done by the staff, aren't they? Like the clubhouse, no, the umpire managers that manages the clubhouse.
Sure.
Could be wrong with that. I'm not sure.
So that had to be a job I would have not relished.
That is hit right into the ship, booted. Long throw, and they get him at first. But the Mets get one on the Travis d'Arnaud home run. The Amazons lead the Yankees 3-1.
Six first, ready two. Take two, ready six. Take six, ready one. Take one, six, Girardi. That's a wrap, everybody. Thank you very much. Nice job. Thank you very much.
Well, it was a year ago that we lost our beloved director, Billy Webb, and I agree with you, my friend, that Bill Webb does belong in Cooperstown. And just hearing his voice and seeing those shots, it's interesting that we could laugh about it this year because we're crying about it last year at this time. But an amazing influence on both you and I, Keith.
Well, I cut my teeth, and so did you, Ronnie, with Bill Webb, and I couldn't have been more lucky to have someone in my life. There's Webby right there on the truck. It'll always be there. We do our Webb hit, as you folks know, back after every game that goes on SNY, and it's called the Webby hit in honor of our dear friend Bill. We miss him so much. Just a wonderful man. And what are you going to do? Life goes on, but he'll never be forgotten.
There's not many people in your life that you'll meet that are original and Bill was one of those. You know, if not the greatest, one of the greatest directors of sports in the history of sports. And Keith and I and Bill would sit after a game, and he would have an idea about what to do the next day, and sometimes we'd stay out a little too late and we'd think he'd forgotten. By the time we got to the ballpark the next day, he had it ready to go. He just was an amazing human being and amazing at his job.
Well, one last little remark. If we got out of line and gave him a hard time or needled him, or he'd always have the final say, and he'd say, "Keep it up, I'll cut your mic."
And he did too.
You know, as a viewer and fan, you got used to those shots of, you know, Andy Pettitte peering over the glove into home plate. But as you guys mentioned, you know, being athletes your whole life, you took to coaching and advice. You said you cut your teeth with him. Go back to the early years. What do you think the most important thing you learned from him?
Well, you were talking about Andy Pettitte and other shots in the World Series. Bill did, you know, the 20-something World Series. Is that what he did is he brought the viewer onto the field. That's what made him unique, is that, you know, you always would watch the game and it was the players playing it and you were kind of a voyeur watching it. But what Bill did is he took you, the viewer, and put you right on the field with Andy Pettitte. And you were talking about cutting our teeth with him. It's just, you would do stuff and Bill would correct you after the game, and you never felt, ever, not once, that he was doing it in a way that was other than just tough love. He was doing it because he wanted to make you better. He cared about you, and I think that's why we care and miss him so much.
Well, he always had my back, Bill, and you know, as my personality came forward in the broadcast, you know, I'm a little goofy and like to have fun in the booth, and Bill always told me, for my own good, was, your personality is great, keep it up, because but you never want to be the class clown in the booth. And he said, I'll keep an eye out for you. And sure enough, if I got a little over the top, Bill would say, okay, I pulled it back a little bit, Keith. Always had my back, and that's also instruction too. So we miss you, Bill.
Robert Gesellman getting ready to face Miguel Andujar. 0 for 2 here, the righty so far this afternoon with a fly out in the K. Brett Gardner on with the walk. Ty Kelly takes over for Asdrubal Cabrera at second.
Now it's interesting here. Torreyes is a younger player. Did a great job for the Yankees last year, trying to win a spot as an extra infielder. So he takes off with 2 outs to get in scoring position. Might not happen with Gardner. He's a veteran player, older player. He knows he can steal second. He doesn't need to do it in the spring training game.
He hasn't even got an aggressive lead.
Andujar's going to test Kelly right away with an easy grounder, and that'll do it for the Yankees here in the 5th.
Yankees and the Mets. Am I supposed to say ducks on the pond there? Is that obligatory?
Oh,
here?
No, I like it.
New pitcher for the Yankees, the righty Dylan Tate. Takes over for Ben Heller. And he will deal with Yoenis Cespedes to start the bottom of the 5th.
Well, Tate, University of California, Santa Barbara. He was one of the big draftees in the 2015 draft. I think he was taken 4th by the Texas Rangers, traded from Texas to the Yankees in the Carlos Beltran deal. But he's got a big arm.
Robinson there in right to make the grab to retire Cespedes. 13 starts last year in the minors for Tate, as we saw his numbers. 2.81 ERA.
All these pitchers are all big horses. Look at them, just like they put them on a basketball court.
Yeah.
But you know what we said, Eamon? The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Is that true? Only 23 years old.
Bruce goes the other way. Gardner comes in and makes the call. 2 away. Let's take a look at the Mets' upcoming schedule presented by WB Mason. Get to go on the road for a little bit.
That's excellent.
You can see them in action on 11 Alive on Sunday against the Astros.
You got Houston back-to-back, Keith.
Yeah, it's fun because they're a good team to watch.
Yes, they are.
Saw them yesterday.
I saw enough of them in the postseason. They're good.
Frazier up now with 2 away. Tony Clark was here today talking to the players, and certainly Todd Frazier was a guy who probably had to hold out a lot longer than he thought he would to get a contract and a job for 2018. 2-year, $17 million deal. Certainly admitted that he wanted to stay with the Yankees after being part of that run last year. We'll get into more about what Tony Clark had to say in his meeting with the Mets. But certainly the topic of the offseason is Frazier goes down looking. Not happy with Chris Conroy's strike zone there, but that'll do it. We're through 5 here at Port St. Lucie.
Come on, TA.
Robert Gesellman getting ready for his 3rd inning of work here as the Mets lead the Yankees 3-1. Eamon McAnany along with Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez. Tyler Austin leading things off for the Yankees. Todd Frazier's afternoon is done. He's replaced at third by Luis Guillorme, and Yoenis Cespedes out of the game as well. Zach Bornstein taking over in left field, and Gesellman gets a strike there to even the count at 1. Always great to see a full house here for the Mets and the Yankees. Gets a ground ball to Gonzalez. Watch SNY Mets games on the go on any device with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just visit SNY.TV or download the NBC Sports app today for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. You go, girls.
Buddies for life.
Have fun.
Yeah, roll down, roll down. Roll down the hill. Roll down the hill, girl.
Oh, boy.
Roll down the hill. Roll down the hill.
That's what the kids love doing up in the berm.
I'll get one more. I gotta get one more. Run, it's terrible.
Danny Espinosa now hitting for the Yankees with 1 away.
Boy, Espinosa is one of those guys that real fine defensive player. We saw him all those years in Washington. Switch hitter. He's got pop from both sides, but just never able to make enough contact.
Makes contact there with Kelly.
Very nice.
With the grab.
The bullet. Not an easy play.
Watch Kelly yesterday play shortstop. Started the game at shortstop, and now it's second.
Austin Romine faces Gesellman now. Romine with 2 hits.
Romine is one of those catchers that won't hit for a high average. Got a little bit of pop, but he's perfect for this team because he's a fine defensive catcher. He's working behind a young man that's trying to hone his skills defensively. We know what Gary Sanchez can do offensively. And it's almost like Romine is not only the second catcher, but almost a mentor in some ways.
Nice crowd, as you can see.
That's hit hard, but Guillorme in the right spot to make the grab. So quick inning for Gesellman. Mets lead the Yankees 3-1. Mets lead 3-1. The headline: Zach Wheeler pitching well, Travis d'Arnaud going yard. And now Adrian Gonzalez faces Dylan Tate.
Shocked is not the right word, but I was looking up today, and Dominic Smith has only made one start down here in spring training. So just a little north of, or a little south of shocked that he hasn't played more.
Whatever sweepstakes there were, or competition there was going to be for first base, certainly Dominic Smith has taken himself out of it by getting injured and being late.
He's got to stay prepared.
That's right. What has he got? A bad quad now?
Well, the quad's been healing, and I talked to him today. I saw him in the clubhouse, and he's been doing normal stuff, but he's eager to get back there.
Gonzalez goes against the shift.
They keep on pitching you away. You know, you can only take what they give you.
Well, a base hit the other way. Yesterday saw Adrian Gonzalez try to bunt for a base hit the other way, and gets on base with a single just for a second, though. Gets a pinch run for by Wilmer.
Tried to bunt on for them
yesterday.
Spring training?
Yesterday tried to bunt for a base hit. Got to work on that, too.
Oh, Wilmer. I like that number on Wilmer.
So Reyes behind 0-2.
Yankees, their 30 best prospects, 19 are pitchers, 18 are right-handed pitchers. 18 out of 30.
Just the opposite. Their offensive players, they always stack them with left-handers.
Right.
Wow. I can't warm up to these socks with the New York skyline on them. They got to get those and throw them in the nearest trash bin.
Reyes stays alive, fouling that one back. Ron is the 4th pick overall. Does he get, I mean, obviously not by this organization, but does the guy like Dylan Tate get an extended leash because there's talent there?
You know, I was the 9th pick by the Texas Rangers, same team he was drafted by, and then traded right away to the Mets. I certainly felt as though, you know, I was one of their premier prospects, even though I traded teams. So I felt the same way in the Mets organization that I did in Texas.
Reyes.
Oh, nice play.
To Reyes.
Nope.
Beats out the throw.
The ball was ripped, and beautiful play by the shortstop. A little bit long on the turn from Espinoza here. Jose showing he can still run. He crushes this ball.
And Jose Reyes is done. He gets pinch ran for. Phillip Evans, the hero of yesterday's game, who sent everyone home with a grand slam. Travis d'Arnaud steps in. He homered in his last at-bat. First pitch swinging here, down the line and right, and that'll go foul into the stands.
Young Phil Evans got the grand slam, a game winner yesterday. He can hit. He's a little stout. He's strong. Knows how to swing that bat.
That's inside. Certainly has been well discussed in the offseason that this is a very big year for Travis d'Arnaud and his partner Kevin Pilecki as well, but certainly more for d'Arnaud. Sort of build off that September that he had.
Well, it's been very fortunate for Travis that hey, how are you, buddy? General manager Sandy Alderson really likes d'Arnaud. He is a fan. So nice play.
Nice play, but a wild throw, and that gets away from Billy McKinnon at first. So Evans thought about making a dash home when no one covering home, but stays at third. So the Mets are in business now with one out. Tate didn't help himself with a wild throw.
I will tell you, Tate went after that ball like he was a former shortstop until he got it, and then he turned into a pitcher.
Well, that's a nice play, but I mean, he's going to be out. That's got to be ruled an error. But they're probably going to give him a hit and an error.
Yeah, a hit and an error for Evans to go to third.
We're waiting for him there.
It is E1.
Yeah, but we don't know. Did they all put up a hit too? How many hits do the Yanks have? I mean, Metsies.
No, I think it's a straight error.
No, that's their fifth hit, so that's a base hit and an error.
Okay.
So an RBI opportunity here for Juan Lagares with one out in the sixth. Runners at the corners. And Tate starts him off with a strike. Off-speed pitch.
Got to get the ball in play here. They're playing back. Tough guy to double up.
Fastball's outside.
So I am not seeing much of a launch angle with Lagares here in the spring. The first time I've had a chance to watch him. This is his third at bat.
That's in there for a called strike. Evans on third, d'Arnaud on first, one away. We'll do it again.
Tardy, Keith.
He's trying to go the other way.
Puts that one in play. Torreyes out at second. Beats it out to score a run. So Lagares hustling down the line. Avoids the double play.
That was a mistake by Torreyes. Torreyes should have taken that by himself.
Correct.
Instead of exchanging it.
Agreed. And he did beat it. Good call by the umpire. Outstanding. Speed kills. Can't hit those over those fences all the time, you know.
So Matt Dendecker steps in with two away as they check on Lagares at first. That's in there for strike one.
We were talking about the Yankees before. This is a nice time with two outs with a 3-run lead for Lagares. Work on his base stealing. Get into scoring position. Worst that can happen, you're thrown out, and Dendecker leads off the next inning.
It also all depends on Lagares' hamstring. Remember, he had a little tender hamstring early, missed some time.
I forgot about that, Keith.
Yes,
Thanks.
so you just want to maybe, you got 3 weeks left, maybe start turning it on the last couple weeks.
Not running. Dendecker pulls it. Espinosa with the play, and that'll do it for the Mets. But they tack on a run. They lead the Yankees 4-1. Extended work for Robert Gesellman as he takes the hill for the top of the 7th. Ronald Torreyes leading off for the Yankees, who trail the Mets 4-1. Phillip Evans going to get tested in short right away, and he does not pass the test.
Well, you don't have to come in and run for that ball. You got a guy that should be able to come get the ball, but be in the position controlled to field. And also dos manos, and for you English folks out there in the audience, 2 hands.
So Torreyes comes out. Kyle Holder pinch running for him at first as Shane Robinson steps in against Gesellman.
Turn it.
There's one.
Nice.
Double play. So Evans with the strong throw after the error.
Well, we've never seen Phil at shortstop. We've seen him over at third. But I didn't realize he had a good arm. He throws a bolt over there. Nice pair.
So Mickey Callaway out to the mound. Looks like Robert Gesellman is done. So the Mets will have a new pitcher. Strong outing for Robert Gesellman to follow up Zach Wheeler. New Mets pitcher on the hill, the southpaw Matt Perk facing Estevan Florial.
You know, Keith, I know you're a big fan of having 2 lefties in that bullpen if you can. Jerry Blevins is certainly going to be one of them, and Matt Perk is fighting to be that second one. 80 punch-outs in 65 2/3 innings. That'll do it.
Pitched 1 inning Sunday against Washington with a strikeout. And he's ahead of the count here, 0-2 against Florial.
Sometimes the starting pitchers, if they feel like they need a little more work, they will go down in the bullpen and chuck a few.
Or is it, he must be heading to an off field if he's going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. He shouldn't have to throw any. I thought he did an outstanding job. Just fist bump with Frankie V there on the left in one of the chairs.
Well, 3 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, no walks, no strikeouts. 1 walk.
Florial pulls that past Flores to keep the Yankees inning going. MetsBlog.com, all things Mets all year long, with a continuous stream of all the latest scoops and developments from spring training, featuring behind-the-scenes video and live updates straight from Port St. Lucie on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. So Tyler Wade now hitting for the Yankees.
Well, he's in that running also, Tyler Wade, for that second base position.
I wonder if Florial will be in the running here to steal a base.
More of a shortstop is Tyler Wade, but they like his bat. Saw him play a little bit last summer. Can hit a little bit.
Crowd starting to get into things here in the top of the 7th. That's hit hard to right. That's down for a base hit. Florial going first to third.
Florial can run.
So that'll bring up Billy McKinney with men on the corners.
So this is something, if you're a manager, right, that you don't like to see. You bring in Matt Perk to face 2 left-handed hitters, and he gives up 2 base hits. Watch Florial run. He's a pretty big man.
Perk will get another shot at a lefty as McKinney steps in. 6 home runs last year with the Trenton Thunder in Double-A.
Talk about being traded. Billy McKinney was a high draft pick for the Oakland A's, and he was traded early in his career with Addison Russell in the Jeff Samardzija deal to the Chicago Cubs, and then he was sent to the Yankees in the Aroldis Chapman trade. So a high draft pick, already traded twice early in his career.
Florial comes off third. No throw from Lobaton, but Tyler Wade advances. So Perk in plenty of trouble here in the 7th. Selman got the double play ball. They went to the bullpen as Rafael Montero was warming up. Here's the 2-0 to McKinney. That's outside, 3-0.
McKinney's really been an outfielder in most of his career, but playing first base here today for the Yanks, part of maybe being on the travel roster so they don't have as many players, but also trying to find some versatility, because his bat is what's going to play.
Not good.
And Perk loses him. So not the outing Perk or the Mets were looking for, and that brings out Dave Island for a conversation.
Well, usually when you see the pitching coach come out, it means there's not going to be a change. He's just going out there to talk to Mr. Perk and snap him into gear.
He has his hands full here because Miguel Andujar has been ripping the cover off the ball here in spring training, and he was brought in to face a lefty, and he lost all 3, and now he has to deal with a power hitting right-handed bat.
How many home runs does Andujar have this spring? I think he has 4.
I think you're right, Ron.
And he's homered in 3 of his last 6 games, but you're right, he has 4. Tied for the lead coming into today. Tied with 4 others. And he's looking for one there. Hits it hard to left, but right at Bornstein.
Well,
and he could breathe a sigh of relief, as can Perk. The Mets lead 4-1. Back to Port St. Lucie. Met fans enjoying things so far as they lead the Yankees 4-1. Brady Lale now on the hill for the Yankees. 24-year-old right-hander out of South Jordan, Utah.
See a lot of players from Utah. Brady last year pitched in both Trenton and Scranton. Which appeared in 28 games, 24 starts.
Faces Ty Kelly to lead things off here in the bottom of the 7th.
Bruce Hurst was from Utah. I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
That's in there for strike 2.
Thought it was going to be a little colder today, but it's nice. It's a nice 75 degrees.
And it really looked like this morning that it was going to rain.
The rain was farther south. I drove up in it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, a little bit of it. But that north wind blowing, whenever that flag's blowing to the right field flagpole, that's flying. That's a north wind.
Kelly sends a fly ball to right. One away. Next Wednesday, as the 2018 NFL year officially begins, the crew discusses the Jets' early free agency moves, plus cash to burn, how Mike McCagnon plans to spend all that cap money on Jets Nation free agency special next Wednesday at 4, only on SNY. Jets hoping to get involved and win those Kirk Cousins sweepstakes.
Ooh, pretzel.
Well, one thing in the NFL, you cannot win without a quarterback. And there's more than a few stinkos out there, too. So I'm hopeful that the Jets get their hands on him.
Zach Bornstein now steps in for his first at-bat of the day, taking over for Yoenis Cespedes in left.
Nice crowd, huh? You heard that? 7,419.
That's
Ticket takers are more than happy that the rain stopped as well.
You know what that means, Keith?
What?
After the game?
It means we got to sit here, sit tight.
Just chill. Roscoe, don't try to put that tarp on so quickly. We'll be here for a while. Roscoe's our A2 guy. Quick with the tarp.
Roscoe just wants to go home.
He knows all the shortcuts. That's why.
The 2-2 from Leo. Swing and a miss. Ornstein down swinging.
There's a changeup again. Everybody throwing that little changeup.
You know, Ron, we started the broadcast talking about the Yankees with the question marks in the rotation. If you were Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, who do you think is our security blanket? Who's the guy you think right now you're confident will make 30 starts?
Well, confidence, that's a tough question. I thought you were going to say who they're confident they're going to leave spring training with. I think they are pretty set with the guys they're going to go.
Yep.
I think that Severino, who's become an ace, is a guy that's going to make 30. Sonny Gray has had a history of being hurt. CC Sabathia is getting up there in age. Tanaka, of course, is, you know, the elbow thing. He was up and down last year, so I don't know how confident you can be, except in that ace Severino, who was so good last year.
We go to the 8th. Mets lead the Yanks 4-1. Presented by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center is back, helping local baseball and softball leagues with grants, clinics, and Mets game experiences right now. We're accepting applications to nominate a league in need. Apply today at sny.tv/playball. Precursor to the Subway Series when the games count. It's always funny being in New York. The media always wants to say, oh, the Subway Series has played itself out. And then when the games come, the places are packed and you can feel the energy in the stadium. Both Citi Field and Yankee Stadium.
You know, I'm not from New York, but I've lived in New York, geez, longer than I lived in Massachusetts.
Say, you're a New Yorker
right?
by now.
Yeah, but, you know, it's always funny to me. And the most unique thing about Yankee Mets fans is they can both come from the same family. They can be split down the middle. That to me is the most amazing part anytime the teams get together.
So Jake Cave now hitting, but for the Mets, Rafael Montero on the hill. And ahead 0-2.
Well, we came before the game talking about Zach Wheeler, Gesellman, and Montero all fighting maybe to have that 5th spot or knock the 5th spot, pitch out of the bullpen, and Montero is out of options. So he's got to make the team unless he falls flat on his face.
Well, I thought he made some steps from last season. He's got the stuff. He just, I think he pitched more inside. He learned to pitch a little more inside. He needs to get ahead of hitters.
His best start might have been in Yankee Stadium last year. His best start of that nice stretch that he had.
It's that 5-game stretch in August, which he started 4 times with an ERA of 2.77, striking out nearly a batter per inning as he starts this inning off with a strikeout looking.
I don't know what this pitch was, whether it was a little slider or cutter or 87 miles an hour. It throws a little harder than that usually.
There's numbers from last year. He's been quite the enigma to the Mets in the hierarchy. The talent is there.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so we know that Jacob deGrom had a full great year. Montero, was he second on the team in innings pitched? I bet you he was. Wasn't Gazelman, wasn't Syndergaard, wasn't Harvey, certainly wasn't Wheeler, who had 80-something innings.
Got a good point there.
Well, by process of elimination.
He was out there a lot more than you think. That's Gary DiSarcina on your right, number 10. He's going to be the bench coach for Mickey Callaway. DiSarcina was a real good shortstop for the Angels for many years. Played for Terry Collins.
Abitel Avellino hitting for the Yankees from the part of the country that you grew up in New England.
That's right.
Telling me yesterday, despite all these years out in Southern California, still has the accent.
Oh, it's like one of my friends, Bobby Witt, who was an awfully good pitcher for the Texas Rangers and Oakland A's, and has lived in Texas forever, but he still has his strong Milton, Mass accent.
He still parks the car in Harvard Yard.
Oh yeah.
That's hit hard and pulled into left for a base hit by Avellino.
Fastball, too much at the plate.
So I'll bring up the catcher, Kyle Higashioka. Ronnie, you've seen a lot of Montero over the years. What's the difference between the good Rafael Montero and the one that has everyone scratching their head sometimes?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We've talked about it so much, is that he just, in the minor leagues, is a very aggressive strike thrower, and when he gets to the major leagues, he becomes a little tentative. You know, when you watch him pitch, you'll say to yourself, boy, he's behind everybody, 2-0, 2-1, and he's got good stuff, like Keith said, good enough stuff to make it and be successful here. But you've got to have above average stuff to be consistently behind hitters and get them out.
That's pulled past Guillorme. So back-to-back base hits for the Yankees. With one out here in the 8th. And how does out of options, we understand what it means, that they can't send him down. So does that help them? I mean, obviously they made some moves, you know, to create space for him. So is there more pressure on him or less pressure on him here in spring training?
There's definitely less pressure. I mean, he knows that if he has a good camp, that they don't want to lose him. You know, they don't want to DFA him. But at the same time, there's other teams watching him. So, you know, a trade could happen if he's not going to factor in their plans, because the middleman, or that long man that Keith and I used to watch in our bullpens when we were kids, that guy, I don't know if he exists as much anymore in this game, because there's so many relievers out there that you know, you'll have 8, 9, 10 relievers out there on a team, or 7, 8, 9 relievers out there. So you will use those guys to get through an inning, another guy to pitch 1 inning, and you won't have that traditional guy that'll try to get 4, 5, 6, 7 outs when your starter fails.
Kyle Holder with a big cut. 8 seems to be the magic number for Mickey Callaway.
If
the Mets bullpen.
My question on the options: if you don't make the team and someone picks up your option, you're not. That team is not required to put that player in the big leagues, are they?
I don't know that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know that they pick him up. He has to be on the 40-man roster. I should know that, and I was optioned out. I ran through my options.
You ran through your options?
I think so. I forget what the rules used to be. When did your options start? You played a couple years. You had 3 options, correct? They can opt you out 3
That's
times.
how it used to be. Yeah.
Yep.
Have to get John Rico up here.
Is Tony Clark still in the building?
No, get John Rico. He'll help us. He's a master of that stuff. Smart guy.
Nice little backdoor pickoff.
That's interesting and ironic that Lobaton would try that. The last time he was on the field for the Washington Nationals, he was picked up by Wilson Contreras in that postseason game, Game 5 in Washington, when he just came off that base and replay showed, and he was called out.
Here's the 2-2 from Montero. Hit right back up the middle. Oh, Kelly got a glove on it, but he's not going to be able to make the play, but he saves a run.
Well, Montero's getting hit hard here. These base hits aren't bleeders. Hit all 3 base hits this inning are rockets. There's a changeup that he left out over the middle of the plate. If he gets it down and away, he's got him. But he left it over the middle, and he can get the bat on the ball. Good barrel the bat on the ball.
So bases loaded, 1 out for Trey Amburgey.
Berge is not on the 40-man roster, or he wasn't in an invite to spring training. He's just an additional minor league guy that was brought from Tampa.
And here he is in a big spot.
That's right.
Okay, let's put that in the book now. It's another visit to the mound.
Are you going to do that all season? That's going to be hilarious. I was talking about it the other day, Keith, because the pitchers are so afraid of stealing of signs.
Right.
That they should take the guy that's on the video in the clubhouse out of play. Shouldn't be able to go in there and have a guy that's not on the bench or part of the roster wearing a uniform be able to tell players what pitch is being used. I don't think.
Let's go back to Wrigley Field back in the day when they found the guy out in the center field fence with the binoculars. Was stealing signs and relaying them to the clubhouse. Now you got guys on the computer in the clubhouse relaying signs. It's the same thing to me.
Yep, I agree. They should be isolated. No one should be able to let them do their thing in the isolation chamber.
So after a strikeout to start the 8th, Montero's given up 3 straight hits and is now behind 2-0 on Trey Amburgey.
I think that's Corey Taylor up in the bullpen down there for the Mets.
Well, they like Taylor. He's a strike thrower.
There he is.
Montero needs himself a ground ball here to get out of the inning.
There you go.
And this is what I was talking about. Just the, I don't know if the stats will portray it, but just watching with the naked eye, when Montero gets out there, he gets hesitant to go after hitters. And when you are like that, you put a hitter in a 3-0 count with the bases loaded. Not that he'll be swinging, but.
Okay, now he's got to come in with something.
The hitter's got to think, I'm going to get that same pitch 3-1 that I got 3-0.
Well, you can certainly look for your pitch. If he wants to throw you a breaking ball or a changeup at this count in this situation in the game late.
And he loses him. Ball 4 scores a run. So the Yankees now pull within 2 here in the top of the 8th.
See Dave Island with that wiggle of the finger, finding out if Corey Taylor's ready in the bullpen.
So now Jeff Hendricks comes up. See what he did last year in the minors. Not an encouraging inning, to say the least, from Rafael Montero here against the Yankees.
Oh boy. So he tries to get a, as a hitter, folks, bases loaded. He just walked in a run in a 4-2 ball game in the 8th. I'm up looking fastball first pitch, and he throws a secondary pitch like that, a change, and misses. Now I'm 1-0. He's in big trouble. Big trouble.
Just think Ambergy and Hendricks brought from Tampa, just extra minor league invites, you know, to kind of just fill the bus just in case. Both have come up with the bases loaded.
Changeup. That's that critical 1-1 pitch, Ronnie.
Critical.
We always talk about.
Yep.
And it's either 1-2 or 2-1. His comfort zone is going to be outside corner with a fastball, and you just got to be on it.
Pulls that one. Kelly gets a glove on it, but he can't make a play. The Yankees score 1 to make it a 1-run game. So he got the ground ball he was looking for, but he was pulled out of the reach of Kelly.
I don't think he's going to get 2 on this play, but certainly going to get the force at second. It's in the glove.
E4. And Mickey Callaway goes to the hill to take the ball from Rafael Montero, and certainly not the effort anyone in the Mets was looking for out of the righty. Corey Taylor on the hill for his 5th appearance so far in spring training. Takes over for an ineffective Rafael Montero.
Well, they like Taylor, strike thrower, perfect guy to come in here and try to get a ground ball.
Trying to get Tyler Wade to get the ground ball. Instead, he fouls one off to the left. Guillorme makes the grab right by the bullpen.
Nice.
1 pitch, 1 out.
And that's what we're looking for. Now Billy McKinney comes to the plate. Everything was going smoothly for Mickey Callaway and his club. They had a 4-1 lead. Rafael Montero struck out the first batter of the inning, and then 3 straight hits, a walk and an error. And his afternoon is done. And as Keith mentioned, the balls were hit hard. They were not bleeders or seeing eye base hits at all. Taylor last year in Binghamton, 5-5 with a 3.61 ERA. 7th round draft pick out of Texas Tech back in 2015.
AJ Ramos from Texas Tech? I think so.
It's outside. Here's a look at Corey Taylor's minor league career.
Sterling year in St. Lucie that one season.
That is hit hard to right. Kazmarski going back. And it's gone.
Ooh.
Yesterday it was Phillip Evans for the Mets. Today it's Billy McKinney for the Yankees.
Oh boy, and that makes it a tough day for Rafael Montero. Down and in. Six runs.
Jorge Saez, catcher, up now.
5 runs charged to Montero, 4 earned.
And that's pulled for a base hit.
Yankees are battered around and battering the Mets around.
Up in the strike zone.
Jake Cave steps in. He started off this inning going down looking against Montero. Now Taylor a strike away from getting out of the inning, which has seen the Yankees score 6 runs for Aaron Boone. What's his name? McKinney?
Like him. That's that pitch down and in.
That's inside.
You know what, I would always see Aaron because of his work in television, you know, until this year, and he was one of my favorite people to yuck it up about when we'd be on the road together. But it'll be different now going into his office at Yankee Stadium, or maybe it won't.
And he swings, goes around to end the inning, but not after the Yankees get a 6-pack. Not a fun day for Rafael Montero. Audi and John Jay signs a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Royals, and a couple of ex-Mets call it a career.
That's a good move. John Jay's a good player. Pelfrey and Capuano both had solid careers. Capuano 18 games. There's my.
Oh, there he is.
There's the Prince. My wife Joanna and son Cash.
Look at him. It's like father, like son.
I told you already. He's got a little tee. He puts the ball on there and he's whacking it. He doesn't call it baseball yet. He calls it bat ball. So we'll get him working on the pronunciation. But there he is. Just turned 2. You parents out there, you know what that's like.
Yorme takes a big rip and misses there. That's way outside. Some other news, not necessarily news around the majors today, but as we see some young fans enjoying the beautiful afternoon here at Port St. Lucie. Certainly one of the biggest stories of the offseason was the slow market for some big name players. Tony Clark meeting with the Met players today, and they had a chance to meet with the media. And Ron, what stood out to you with what Tony Clark had to say?
Well, I thought what was interesting is that you know, he was trying to answer the questions of how anxious, agitated, angry those players that are at camp jobless over there in Tampa, which is going to be closing in 2 days, March 9th. You know, and I think the gist of his conversation really centered around he has never seen this many players and this many quality players who are unsigned, which was of course a shot at are teams really, are some teams really going out there to compete at their best and sign some of the best players. That's a question I can't answer.
Yeah. Yorme goes down looking.
You know, when you have that many players out, you know, and there's 100 reasons we could get into why some of these things have happened. Here's the other notable MLB free agents: Cabrera, who's a starting player, 4th outfielder. Cargo, of all people, still not signed. Moustakas, she's off in the first list. Keith, you've been through more than me. You went through work stoppages, which I did too in '94, '95. Collusion was the big thing I went through in the late '80s. But that's Jonathan Lucroy, you know. Neil Walker, to me, you know, we got to watch Neil play and know how good he is. And for him to not be on a ball club is kind of shocking to me.
Well, I think a lot has to do with the salaries. As high as they are, players, the older players are out there. They're not willing to give long-term contracts to players that are late 20s and or 30s. They're not willing to give them contracts to 35. And Ronnie, we've discussed this with Gary. Analytics has now taken over, where they have a lot of data that tells ownership that players, you know, now we're beyond the steroid era, hopefully we are, they don't get better, they decline like everybody, like most people do. So they're less inclined. I'm surprised that Arrieta's not signed.
Yeah.
I mean, because pitching's pitching.
You know,
but then the management flip side of that is, well, I mean, you got to be a little bit more reasonable, because we're not going to give Jake Arrieta a 7 to 8 year deal like we would have. I wouldn't.
I never would give anybody a 7-year deal,
especially a pitcher, right, Keith?
Well, just sets to me 5's the max, and certainly not when someone is 30 years old.
Here's the 0-2 to Evans.
You know what has changed? What Keith was talking about is that. There's Arrieta's numbers. Cy Young Award winner 2 years ago. Is that there used to be a time what was on the back of your baseball card is what you get paid for, but now you're getting paid for what the analytics are projecting the kind of player that you are going to be.
Evans sends that one off. McKinney going back.
Nice.
Makes the grab.
Oh.
So a nice day all around for number 71 for the Yankees. Back with the 9th after this. On Sunday, the next game here on SNY will be Thursday when they host the Marlins, March 15th at 1 o'clock start. Mets against the Marlins Thursday on SNY.
Well, I hate to be like this, but Aviatel Avelino is now my new favorite player as he gives Cash a baseball. How nice is that?
Yeah. Did you say thank you?
He says please for everything. So even
good.
if it's supposed to be thank you, he says please.
Oh, Ron, you know, you're doing a good job.
Kevin McGowan, the new Mets pitcher. All right, he starts off with Ron's new favorite Yankee.
Well, see what he did for the Mets last season. Spring training so far have not been good for McGowan. Looks so different. Last year he had the full head of hair, kind of bushy hair, and he's gone the Jacob deGrom route.
Well, all you folks that were around, you Met fans that are listening, that were back in the 80s, you remember Brent Gaff? The relief pitcher, Brent Gaff, was 84. He pitched pretty good for us, Brent. I love Brent. He was a fun guy. But he looked like Brent Gaff with that moss when he had that big moss.
We used to call Brent Gaff bluegill because he was a big fisherman, and that's what he used to love to catch, bluegill. I believe Gaffer was from Indiana. Oh, got him. Got the guy on deck right in the foot on the foul ball.
Lucky he got him there.
It's honestly really a little embarrassing for the player. The other players will get on him hard because of that.
Who was the Cardinals player that got hit by the foul ball in the on-deck circle that ended his career?
Edwin Encarnacion.
Yes.
Not Edwin, Juan Encarnacion.
Yes.
That's low, so the count goes to 2-2. Mets had a 4-1 lead going into the top of the 8th before the Yankees got 6 runs. Rafael Montero knocked around for 3 straight hits, then a walk. Error led to a grand slam by Billy McKinney. But if you're the Mets, Ronnie, I would think the headline of today is how well Zach Wheeler and then Robert Gsellman pitched.
Yeah, I think both of them pitched the way that you wanted to see. Wheeler was dominant at times and had a real good breaking ball, which you like to see from him. And Gsellman was aggressive, letting them put the ball in play. They did hit a couple balls hard, but right at people. But I think that's a nice recipe for Robert to be successful.
He's got his bread and butter is his sinker.
Yep.
And when he's got right-handers up there and he runs that sinker down and in and keeps it down, that's going to open up the outside corner for him. But he's predominantly got to pound in with that hard sinker.
He's pounded into center field. Base hit for Avitel Avellino.
Well, you see Wheeler's this afternoon. He had everything working, right, Keith?
He had one erratic inning.
Yeah.
I thought he had a good sharp breaking ball. I thought he finished strong the last inning, the 3rd inning, the last inning. I thought all in all it was a step forward for him.
So Kyle Higashioka, the catcher, steps up to face McGowan with a runner on and nobody out. Fouled away.
Say hi, Jakey.
Oh, too busy with that big gulp. Didn't they try to outlaw the big gulp? That didn't work, did it?
No. I don't.
What was it? They just started buying 2. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
He is going to finish that in one gulp.
That's low. So McGowan falls behind in the count 2-1.
Oh. Look at Montero getting some punishment out there, doing some sprints. Yeah, there you go.
Great.
Get over the top a little more.
We await the 2-1 from McGowan. Avellino off first. And it's hitting to the gap in right center. Mazzilli giving chase. He won't get to it. It splits the gap for a ground rule double.
Well, things continue to not go well for McGowan here.
Higashioka now with a couple of hits in relief of Romine. Romine had a couple of hits, so nice out of that spot in the order.
So that brings up Kyle Holder. Took over for Ronald Torreyes at short. Let's bring the infield in. Mazzilli's going to have to give it a long run. Kelly going back as well, and Kelly's not going to get to it. So the Yankees tack on their 8th run of the game.
Well, with the infield in, the infielders are trying to get back there. Kelly's trying to make a play. L.J. Mazzilli, who is really an infielder trying to learn to play the outfield position, really had no shot at that. L.J. trying to impress his dad, Lee, who's here in a Yankee uniform. They were talking before the game.
Trey Amburgey now hitting for the Yankees. That's outside. There's the meeting before the game that Ronnie was talking about. Maz and Maz.
Traded for Lee early in my career, and then when he came back, we've become great friends. How can you not be friends with Lee?
Mazzo. Mike or Knight? Lee got a big hit in that World Series.
Boy, he did, didn't he?
Off the bench, batting right-handed too. That wasn't his good side. His better side, I should say. Got that ground ball, I believe, between short and third, right?
Go. Good call.
There he is. Yeah, well, the moment's there and it's gone.
It's getting further and further away, isn't it, Keith?
Abracadabra.
Big hack from Amburgey, but McGowan gets a strike. Great sights and scenes this afternoon from spring training.
Oh.
That's hit hard to left. Bornstein going back. And that's
gone. That's against the wind.
That's against the wind. Mazzilli and Bornstein can only watch. Trey Amburgey gives it a ride.
The route is on, or was on, and now it's more on.
Oh, here's mud in your eye. Well, that ball's crushed.
I thought we said at the beginning the Yankees didn't bring their big bats this afternoon.
We might, yeah, exactly. We might have to get a little Dandy Don song for you, Keith, in these kind of games.
No, we don't need to do that, do we?
For our own enjoyment.
Kyle Regnault warming up.
Are you sure?
That's what I was told.
Very good, Eamon. Because I sure as heck didn't know. Was it 86?
Yeah. Yes.
It's a wide receiver.
Of course, I was told that 6 hours ago. Jeff Hendricks at the plate. He goes down swinging for the second out of the inning.
Boy, 10 points put up by the Yankees last 2 innings.
One away here in the 9th. Yeah, this managing thing's easy. You just send guys up there. They hit grand slams. They hit 3-run shots.
Work.
These kids are hungry, you know. when you go on these trips, and I don't know how long it is, but about 2.5 to 3 hour trip from Tampa to here, and it gets late in the game, the guys that are big leaguers, they don't want to be in this game. But you have the young guys that are hungry to show a new manager, Aaron Boone, what they can do. They are playing to the hilt.
Tyler Wade. Looks like he broke his bat. You guys played for many different managers, and you know New York as well as anyone. If Aaron Boone were to pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, what do I need to know about New York? Or taking over a big league clubhouse.
Get your rest.
Not the manager, the players. I think I would be forthright and honest. Is I think the thing that works in this town is that you know, trying to skirt responsibility and not have culpability just doesn't play in this town. So just tell it like it is, and you'll become a fan favorite.
Certainly seemed to think that his ability to communicate with his players, but also the media, you would think his experience at ESPN and his outgoing personality to begin with seemed to be one of the traits that won over Brian Cashman.
He has an incredible dry sense of humor. Now you have to know him. I mean, he makes me laugh. So you have to know his sense of humor. He's got a great one. And so does Mickey Callaway. They're both were hired for kind of a similar thing. It's that they're both great communicators, and that's what the game warrants right now.
Well, they're the new ones right there.
Tell you, Ron Gardner certainly sticks out as who doesn't belong here or who doesn't fit in.
Old school. The thing about this always amazes me: the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Nationals all went to the postseason last year. All 3 of them have new managers.
Well, there's got to be a lot of pressure on Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
First time managing. That was a big surprise to me, him getting hired. A Yankee team that was 1 win away from going to a World Series. They pick up another big bomber, and Giancarlo Stanton. They're expected to win. It's a lot of pressure on him.
You've seen that the last couple of years. If you think about it, in the last 5 years, Brad Ausmus in Detroit, right? He came with a team that was somewhat loaded and expected to win. They haven't been able to do that. And then Matt Williams, when he was hired by the Nationals, he was supposed to be the game changer, and he didn't last long either. So I think you're seeing that today's GM is not afraid to pull the trigger if he's thinks his team needs a shakeup.
Well, I can just see the New York back page of the sport pages. If the Yankees get off to a bad start, or at some point in the season hit a real tough dry spell, I can just see the back pages. It's a different breed of cat playing, managing and playing in New York.
Best thing you can do as a player, and I know it's hard now because of the social media, but don't read anything good about yourself and don't read anything bad about yourself. Just stay off it.
More emphasis on the bad.
You like the good once in a while.
Well, you need a little pat in the back every now and again, don't you?
Full count pitch from McGowan with 2 away.
Nope. McGowan's in there. It's that Ron Darling moment.
Yeah, right.
Davey Johnson.
Oh, man. If you don't know what Keith's referring to, early in my career in '84, I had one of those games where I was giving up a lot of runs early in the game. I think it was about a 5 spot to about the 2nd inning, and really thought that, you know, it was really Davey's job to take me out of this game because I was didn't have anything. And he just ran out to that mound and said, listen, you can either get them out or you can keep giving up runs. You decide, but you're pitching 5 innings. I was like, whoa.
That's how you find out about pitchers.
Boy, that was a wake-up call.
That's how you find out about people. And you got out of it.
I got out of it and pitched well the last couple of innings.
There you go.
There's a fly ball to right.
There's
Marsky under it. And he makes the grab to end the inning. But the Yankees tack on 4 more. Bottom of the 9th when we return. Baseball Night New York crew will discuss the Mets. They'll have highlights from the Big East tournament at the Garden and more on the Jets and the Giants in the draft. Jose Lobaton steps in against Cale Kosho.
Dale, big guy. Jeez.
Is that our analysis of him? He's a big guy.
Didn't want to go any further.
Todd Frazier would say big dog.
I mean, when you think of the Yankees and their relievers, each guy they bring in is you know, Chad Greens and Betances and Chapmans, and I mean, they're all don't even come in the pen unless you're 6'5", 6'6". Yeah, a little like maybe a Jabba in his heyday with the Yanks. Jabba Chamberlain.
Four hits so far, including a home run this spring training. Count goes full. And Lobaton goes down looking.
Well, spring training game, 9th inning, 11-4. Anything close. I'm behind home plate. I'm pulling a Frank Pulley. Swing the bats. Don't get paid for overtime.
It's 2 Frank Pulley references this afternoon.
That's right.
Guess who's watching the game? Just texted me. Said to say hello to you. Kevin Mitchell.
Oh, our man, Mitch.
LJ Mazzilli.
We missed Kevin's right-handed bat when Frank traded him.
Made a bad mistake.
To the Padres because that made us more vulnerable to left-hand pitching back in the 80s. Because we lost Ray Knight also.
Yeah.
So we lost 2 right-handed bats there. And at that point, Hojo, who went on to have a really wonderful career, Hojo was really challenged right-handed at that time. He became a much better right-hand hitter. But, Mitch went on to be an MVP. Love Mitch.
One of my favorite teammates.
Good hit. He owned Tudor.
Yes.
Owned Tudor.
When no one owned Tudor.
That's right. He was the reason why we beat Tudor.
Mazzilli goes down looking as the Mets haven't gotten the message that the plate is expanding here in the bottom of the 9th. That's a strike.
Mitch is the only guy that I've ever played with that we were in a brawl, and I won't say who's involved because I don't want anyone, but we were in a brawl, and Mitch had one of the players in a state that the brawl stopped because of how Mitch had one of these players, and everyone just said, Mitch, put him down. This is over.
It was a severe overmatch. That was in Pittsburgh, wasn't it?
It was.
That's the only hint we'll give you.
Yeah.
We had our share of brawls that year.
Bring this up in the bottom of the 9th where I can't guess the rest of the game.
We'll tell you at the break.
They'll Google it. They'll figure it out.
The Yankees.
I forget why we got in a fight that game.
Was that the two-hand slap?
Someone was scuffing the ball, and Bill Robinson wasn't happy with it.
Rick Rhoden started it. That's right. And then Bill got all bent out of shape. Bill Robinson, our first base coach, and
Rick Rhoden didn't
Rhoden's walking off the mound after an inning, and Bill's running into a third base dugout, our dugout, and he meets him at halfway to first base, and they start shoving. Bill starts shoving him. I go, oh no, here we go.
That's really how those fights were, because there were so many that you'd literally go, oh, here we go again.
There really were a few.
Well,
remember a big one against the Braves on a Friday night on a nationally televised game. And
oh, that was hilarious because Keith was at the bottom, and he and David Palmer, who was pitching,
Atlanta.
They were having like a conversation at the bottom of the pile.
I didn't want to get him. I remember that one. That'll drop.
Dasmarski extends the festivities with a base hit.
Well, I remember that one was that Gary hit a home run off him, Carter.
Yeah.
And then Gary.
They had been teammates in Montreal.
He never hot dogged around the. He never hot dogged around the bases. But when he got in the dugout, he'd come up with the fist pump to the fans, and that just ticked off Palmer. So he drilled Strawberry the next pitch. What did Darryl do? So I was on top of him saying, next time, hit Gary, and no one's going to bother you.
Yeah, yeah.
What did Straw do? Straw did nothing.
And
so Straw got hit and charged the mound.
Well,
that did it. There he is. The final cog in that 80 machine.
Kid.
He brought more to the ballpark than just his hitting skills.
Kelly sends that one out to right. And that'll do it. So the Yankees make the trip from Tampa. They get 6 in the 8th and 4 in the 9th to beat the Mets 11-4.
Well, the only thing you can talk positively about the Mets is early in this game when Wheeler and Gesellman were at their best. Once the relievers got in, they struggled offensively. Keith, I didn't see too much by the Mets.
You know, this has been such a long game.
Darnell's,
the home run. Darnell's home run.
There you go.
There we go. And folks, we hope we didn't bore you today. When the game got out of hand late, we started telling stories. We try to keep it entertaining. Don't get your dauber down. It's only a spring game.
I'll hear more about that fight against the Braves later, but right now, New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep, the most awarded lineup of SUVs ever. Visit Jeep.com to learn more. By Geico, the #1 insurer in the New York market. By Fios by Verizon. Streaming is only as good as your internet, so get the best internet on the 100% fiber optic network. Go to getfios.com. And by Nissan. Get the technology of tomorrow today at Nissan Now. Shop ChooseNissan.com. It was a beautiful day in Port St. Lucie for baseball, but not for the Met fans as the Yankees win it 11-4. Our next game is on Pix as the Mets host the Astros. You can catch that action Sunday at 1 on Pix 11. Next SNY telecast from Port St. Lucie, March 15th, next Thursday at 1 o'clock as the Mets welcome in the Miami Marlins. For Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez and our entire SNY crew, I'm Eamon McEnany saying thanks for watching. The Mets lose 11-4. So long from Port St. Lucie.